Good afternoon to all my fellow fighting game enthusiasts. Hello there, you can see my hands in the reflection. This is probably going to be an extremely rare kind of video on this channel where I review something and just talk about it. We have the haute42 T16 in our possession, as you can see right here. And then we also have the baby haute42 G16, and I have a few talking points that I want to discuss with you. And that will simply be it for the video. So talking point number one is the overall build quality of the T16 and G16. So to start with the G16, it is obviously a lot smaller and a lot thicker. God, this camera will not focus to save my life. Even if I reach yeah, that's fucking doing nothing, isn't it? So on the G16, you have these smaller buttons that feel a little bit more springy. They're kind of like almost keyboard-esque, and they do feel lovely to use, to be fair. And then on the Hot 16, you have, they're on the Hot 42 T16, you have a lot more surface area for your hands, which you're wondering, do I just get the smaller version because it's cheaper? Do I treat myself to a T16 because it's bigger? My hands barely fit on the Hot T16, but that's a good thing because I'm 6'9". Therefore, if you are a normal sized human being, this will just be a perfect Hot for you. And you could probably even go for one of the others that I don't have possession of or know about that's a tiny bit smaller and still feel comfortable. You can also use this on your lap, this particular model, and it is very comfortable to just have on your lap and play. It doesn't like feel out of place, and you don't feel disadvantaged. And you compare it to this and try to like keep this in your lap and then also push the buttons. It is nigh on impossible unless you say have like a lap tray, but who's just kicking about with a lap tray nowadays? In any day, really, day one. The next thing I'd like to talk about is how it feels in game. Now, I personally come from a background of playing keyboard games, not particularly fighting games on keyboard. I use the controller on keyboard. I could not do a quarter circle, just one of these, save my life. And now look how easy it is for me, and a wave dash is just a few buttons pressed, and it feels so much more intuitive for me personally. And if you are someone that used a lot of keyboards and not a lot of controllers and sticks for your video gaming, then a leverless controller is going to feel so nice for you personally, the same way it has for me. And don't get me wrong, I've used a controller for games. I've got 2,000 hours in Rocket League playing exclusively controller. I've got probably over the years 5,000 hours in FIFA as well. So I've definitely used a lot of controller and stick for games. But with fighting games, for me personally, you have the buttons in a way that makes sense, where it's kick and punch. And then, normally, depending on the game, it will be grabs or block if there's a block button, or specials like Tekken is heat and then rage art, whereas Street Fighter is just heavy and heavy. And then on the 16 button leverlesses compared to the 13 button, which are your typical, this doubles up as the L3 pin. This one doubles up as the R3 pin, which is perfect for drive parry in Street Fighter 6 and drive impact. And then up here, you would have to disable this button in a tournament. When you're online, you can just use that as another jump button. So if you really want to play WASD style, so I personally use the button for jumping because it's just more comfortable to have my hand like this than it is to try and do this. Like, what am I doing now? In general, the feel, it makes you feel like you're really in control of your character and your gaming and your inputs. And for me, it unlocked a level of skill that I never had. I didn't have any skill playing fighting games. On Street Fighter, I couldn't do a single quarter circle, I couldn't do a single special move, let alone doing like a rage art or something, you know? Is it called rage art? Super art. I couldn't do any super arts. They're the ones. But with the leverless controller, I can chain all inputs. I've been learning electric Godwin fists on Tekken, and I can now do, I think my highest is 6 in a row, which, you know, for my inexperience of fighting games and having 20 hours in Tekken, I feel like that's not a bad achievement, and it's all thanks to this bad boy right here. Following on from just general feel and my personal experience, haute42 has a Discord server where community members will help answer your questions about your controller. They'll help you if you need help if you encounter any problems. There's also, with this being an acrylic designed controller, with this one also being an acrylic designed controller, you can print and cut your own artwork to put on the board. There are people that make their boards look really, really pretty. I personally don't have a printer that can print A4 borderless, so for now at least I'm just rocking the default. But like even this default look is really clean. But if you want the art templates to then make your own custom art to put upon your controller, you can find them all in the Discord. They have a template for every single controller they have. And that's really, really cool in my humble opinion. And it's really as simple as you get your art, you put the template on top of it, you print it out. If you have a cutting machine, it's obviously way easier. But even if you don't, you just take a knife and cut out all the circles that you've made within the template. The next thing I would like to talk about is the web configurator. So we'll do a cute little jump cut and I'll show you the web configurator. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the BP2040 CE web configurator. Accessible by putting your port controller into boot mode, which is as simple as holding the start button as you plug in your wire. You can then land yourself here by typing in 192.168.7.1 in your browser. Ask, search, bar. Yes. And from here, you have the ability to update your firmware, as haute42 controllers are powered by GP2040 CE, which is known to be an incredible bit of software or firmware. Who knows what the kids are calling it these days. Here you can map your pins and, you know, change the function of stuff. I really maybe should have made the talking point or two before starting recording, but my apologies. You wanted to make a macro that allowed you to do 2 inputs at once or something. Not that it'd be tournament legal, but you could use it online. And then here you can do LED configuration. I don't personally touch this part, but I do like touching this part, the custom LED theme, where you can make with 2 buttons. I can take, for example, pink, and then let's say we want pink and green. Then we see that this way that it blends is not very gangster. Now that I can actually go behind. It's just nicer with this one. It goes more purpley. I wish the gradient was more pink here and then starts going purple into the blue, but beggars can't be choosers. And then for our press gradient, we can do something like dark blue into red inverse, and Yeah, nice red here, nice blue here. And then all we have to do to keep that is press save. Isn't that cool? Now, the next time that I unplug and replug my controller, it will use this LED theme instead of the one that I had. I can also change the screen that's in the top left. I can change it from being showing what inputs and buttons I'm pressing into the screensaver persistently staying, which then means I can have anything I want as the screensaver. But fair warning, it only does black and white, so a lot of pictures do end up not very cool, but there is definitely the ability to create something specifically for it. I don't really know about the add-ons or how you create the macro personally. I've not used them. Here you can change your SOCD cleaning mode if you forgot how to do it on your actual, and the D-pad mode, which is also a nice one. Sometimes you can just forget how to do it with the actual inputs on your controller, and then you end up in a bit of a panic because you're like, well, I can't use my controller now. I can't work out how to do it. And sometimes Googling might not always bring you the correct answer. So nice knowing that you have it here. And these, I believe, are just if you hold something, like hold the button that is showing you and then plug in your wire, it will then go into this boot input. And here you can set up some hotkeys or look at the hotkeys like I was talking about, the SOCD neutral. So I believe that's select and A is in the actual A button, not just because A, and then down, and then you get neutral. Then you can click reboot up here and you can put it into controller mode. You can just reboot it back into web config, which I'm going to do personally. Wow, the gradient that we chose together, thank you for your help, guys, because that looks pretty. I've actually not tried doing it this way, and knowing that I can go from web config straight back to web config without having to unplug the wires is so handy. And then boot cell is so that you can flash firmware or flash the nuke so that it goes back to default settings. And obviously controller is just so that you can straight up use it without having to change the wire. So all in all, this is a fantastic bit of software. I think haute42 controllers in general are peak, to be honest, because I don't see how you're meant to get much better, especially at the price points. The P16 cost me £60, so maybe $75, I don't know. And then the Haute G16 cost me £38, so probably around like $45 to $50. And for that price point, that is like such a nice entry into leverless controllers, into fighting games. If you wanted a proper controller to start taking the fighting game seriously, not seriously, but you know, if you wanted to play ranked and you wanted to feel like you're giving yourself, pardon me, feel like you're giving yourself the best opportunity to win and become a better player and flourish, because in my humble opinion, everyone deserves a chance to feel like they're good at something, at least one thing. So if you want fighting games to be yours, I'd highly recommend haute42 controllers. They are a fraction of the price of a Razer Kitsune, of a fight stick, and from what I've read online, they're built to last. They're not just like shoddy bits of acrylic. The acrylic is nice quality, it feels nice, the LEDs are nice, the keycaps are nice, switches are nice. And just the general usage experience when you're playing fighting games on keyboard, your wrist will start to hurt. I know firsthand. I'd get wrist ache after 20 to 30 minutes. With a haute42, I can play for hours on end, and the worst that will happen is my back, which is completely unrelated. I'm just too tall for my own good. Anywho, on that note, I shall be concluding this video. If you have watched it, sorry, because I imagine it doesn't serve much more than being a waste of time, but also if it has inspired you to get a haute42 controller, please do let me know, because it'd just be a nice thing to know. And if you have any questions, I will answer all of them the best that I can, and I won't just deflect and say no, ask somewhere else, unless it's out of my knowledge range. And then I'll go ask the Discord, and they'll tell me, then I'll tell you. So it might just take a little bit extra, but I'll let you know if that's the case beforehand, so that you're not just sat there waiting and waiting and waiting. Anywho, goodbye, my friends. Keep it easy.